The Buffalo Bills have found a hidden gem with the help of Ed Oliver, and Brandon Beane is looking like a genius for this fourth round pick he made back in April during the NFL draft. Hello everyone and welcome to Bills Digest. Josh Schreiber here, and we've got a fun video as the Bills have a defensive rookie who is saving their season. Well, before we dive into it, just a reminder, about 67% of you guys are still not subscribed to the channel, so be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We appreciate everything you guys do for the channel. Well, let's dive right into it, and why not start with Buffalo Bills rookie Deone Walker, who has been absolutely phenomenal. He has garnered some attention from Bills fans and players, as well as some coaches who have been really excited with what they've seen from him. Well, I think in order to really tell this story, we have to start from the beginning. Back in April, Deone Walker was drafted by the Bills in the fourth round out of the University of Kentucky. Now, Deone Walker, after his 2023 sophomore season, was supposed to be a projected first-round pick, although he still had another year that he had to play before he was eligible for the NFL draft. Well, that year was sort of a nightmare for him. He went into the 2024 season coming off a remarkable campaign, 12.5 sacks in his sophomore year with 7.5 tackles for loss. And obviously, for a defensive tackle and an interior defensive lineman, their stat sheet doesn't really tell the story all of the time, but I think this time it really does at least begin to tell that story. He was absolutely dominant in that sophomore season, I should say, with Kentucky, but he really fell off a cliff in that 2024 season, as you see there. Just 5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss. He played in 11 games that year, and it was later revealed that the reason why he had such a slow year was because he played his junior season with a fracture in his back. So, absolutely ridiculous that he was playing through that. And this is no small guy. He is 6'6", 331 pounds, an absolute gargantuan human being. So, to be playing through a broken back, you can only imagine holding all that weight, what that does to not only your game, but also your physical and mental well-being. He has since talked about that he was going through a lot mentally that year where he was questioning if he was really any good. He talked about how he really didn't find a love for the game of football until his high school year and really just developed astronomically from there. This junior year was the first year he really saw any sort of setback, and it was a big one. Going into the year that he was going to decide to go to the NFL draft, and he was projected to be a first-round pick after his sophomore year. The sky was the limit for him until this broken back absolutely changed the trajectory of his draft stock. Now, even while he was at Kentucky and struggling in his junior year, he was still, of course, getting attention from scouts, but they began to get a little bit concerned about how he would translate to the NFL with this severe injury. Now, it was public that he had a back injury that year, but it wasn't so apparent that teams were going to take a risk on a guy with a first or second round pick. You know, anytime a guy has a back injury, that is something that does not necessarily go away. Now, Deone Walker, at just 21 years old, obviously is going to heal a little bit better than a guy in his early 30s or even late 20s for that matter. But the Buffalo Bills decided to still take a risk on Walker and pick him in the fourth round. Now, he made a heck of an impression on his teammates coming into Bills training camp. Ed Oliver said this about him: he is a massive human being on like ballerina legs. He is a dancing bear. Now, that is a quote that kind of blew up on social media and had reporters laughing. They were laughing about, just the image that this garners, a dancing bear, and calling a guy a dancing bear on ballerina legs who's 6'6", 331 pounds. It is an image to behold, without a doubt. But Ed Oliver certainly believed it, and his other coaches really agreed with it as well. Bobby Babich talked about in training camp, and Bobby Babich, for those of you that don't know, he is the defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. They all talked about how much ground he can cover, and he is not your average big man. He is a guy that can play really with some range as a defensive tackle despite his big size. And a lot of people would see Deone Walker and say, well, this is a guy, he's going to need to lose weight if he wants to be successful at the NFL level. Now, that could be true. He may still be trying to lose some weight, but he moves extremely well for the weight he is at. So kind of an anomaly when it comes to that. And the Dancing Bear memo has really clicked. Now, one thing we have seen from Ed Oliver this season was we really expected him to, be a little bit of a project. Maybe not be so good in the run game, but be a much better pass rusher. And he has really defied that idea. As we get a look at some of the highlights he's had this season in the run game, we see this is against the New Orleans Saints a couple of weeks ago. You see these two run stops he had where he absolutely demolishes the inside interior guards. We'll see it again here. But watch him right here, right in the middle, go right past the guard, bring Kamara down for 2 TFLs. And one thing that Ed Oliver talked about was, obviously we have this quote from him, but he said that Deone Walker came to the sideline saying, man, I just got a TFL on Alvin Kamara, who Deone Walker likely grew up watching. Kamara has been a veteran in this game for quite a while, and when he came back to the sideline, Oliver said that he was looking at him like a proud dad and talked about how fast he's progressed and how good it was to take those steps as a rookie. And it is good to see Deone Walker come into his own on this Buffalo Bills defense. He has needed to come into his own because Ed Oliver has not been healthy. Daquan Jones is not the man that he used to be. Greg Rousseau, we have heard some inklings that he's been battling injury as well. So they need a guy like Deone Walker to step up. And with Ed Oliver coming back this week against the Atlanta Falcons, this is going to be our first time that we see a matured, a developed Deone Walker playing alongside Ed Oliver, and that is something that Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons should be terrified of. This is a duo that could wreak havoc in the backfield, and the Bills have struggled against the run. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, the two running backs for the Atlanta Falcons, those are the guys you guys will need to look out for. I'll have more of a fuller preview on this game coming out tomorrow before that game starts, but they're going to need Deone Walker and Ed Oliver to impose their will on the defense. Now, going back to a video last night, you heard me say that I give you the guarantee if Ed Oliver is playing in this game and Deone Walker is healthy, either Joey Bosa or AJ Epinesa or Greg Rousseau, they are guaranteed to get a sack in this game. And that is what I'm telling you here. I'm sticking with that as it's looking more and more likely that Ed Oliver is fully back and Deone Walker is developing and healthy. Now, let's look at the analytics for exactly what Deone Walker has been doing so well. And we bring up his PFF game log, and you see those first two games, he struggled a little bit against Baltimore and the Jets, kind of finding his footing. You see, as a tackler, he became much more solid in that second game against the Jets, but he took a massive leap against the Miami Dolphins, recording an 85.2 grade as a defender and 85.5 as a pass rusher. He had the game-winning tipped pass against Tua Tagovailoa that ended up getting picked off by Terrell Bernard. I know you Bills fans who watch every game, you certainly know what I'm talking about there, where Deone Walker destroyed his offensive guard that was guarding him, got a hand up, just barely altered the pass from Tua, and ended up in an interception for Terrell Bernard. And, while his numbers have not been as gargantuan the next 2 games, he has certainly still been very, very capable. Now, a lot of people, it's hard to know exactly what it means, what some of these numbers mean. And I'll give you a scale here that I was able to find for PFF. Any number in the 30s, they are very poor, not starter level. And if we flash back to his first game, we see that number in the red, the tackling number against Baltimore. He was struggling, and the Bills' defense showed it. They could not stop Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens' offense until the very end of the game. But we go back here, and if you are in the 90s, you are elite. You are the best of the best. Good is 80, and that's just about Pro Bowl level. So if we go here, we see that he was in the 80s, the mid-80s, in his pass rush and his defensive score against Miami, and he has hovered in the high 60s, low 70s for the most part. Other than that, now what does that mean? Above average and average. So doesn't jump out at you, but he is a 4th-round draft pick, people. He is not even supposed to be any good this year, not supposed to be a starter this year. And he has been an above-average player for the most part these past few weeks. And this is exactly what the Bills needed. They have found their hidden gem in the draft, and I cannot wait to see what he does the remainder of the season. Thank you guys for tuning in to Bills Digest. We've got a full pregame preview for you tomorrow, and be sure to subscribe. We are so close to that 1,000 subscribers mark, and maybe something special coming there once we get there. Thank you again. I'm Josh Schreiber here for Bills Digest.